Well, you know, I don't like to brag, right? It's to be the last thing in the world I would ever consider doing is bragging, but I happen to have some friends in some pretty high places now. Sean Parnell, he doesn't need any introduction on this show. Sean and I have been friends for years, and I first knew Sean back when he was just a stupid army officer. No, he fought in Afghanistan. He wrote a great book. But now, let me see. Hold on, Sean. Hold on. I got to make sure I read this off the paper. I've never introduced you this way before. Now he is the Chief Pentagon Spokesman and Assistant to SecDef for Public Affairs. Sean, the only thing I want to know is, can I come visit you? Do you have an office in the Pentagon? Am I allowed? Like, I've never been there. I want to come.
You know what's funny? I've never been to the Pentagon either. Guys like me and you spend all of our time, I know. Guys like me and you have spent all of our time in the trenches, front towards enemy. I have never been in an air-conditioned military office in my entire career, but somehow, because of President Trump, like I get to walk back into the Pentagon and not just. I mean, I take this very, very seriously. We're laughing about it here, but. Yeah. Jesse, one of the things, and I know you and I have talked about this many times, but I know at least for me after 9/11 when I joined, one of the things that I didn't realize going in, and I understood the history of the American military on an academic level. I knew how amazing, the men and women who served this country were before me and generations prior. But I didn't really understand it fully until, I went through training with my men in an infantry platoon. Back then, it was just men in the infantry. Shoot, move, communicate together, and then you go to war, and then you fight, bleed, and die together, and then you start learning about them, and then the legacy of the unit that you're in. I mean, man, we really are standing on the shoulders of giants. In this country, of all the American war fighters and warriors who came before us, who sacrificed so much for everything that we have here. So I get the opportunity now in the Pentagon to represent that legacy. But every American warfighter in uniform today and everybody who would don the uniform in the future, man, now I understand that we're standing on the shoulders of giants going into it, and I get a second opportunity to serve with these men and women. Man, it's crazy. But never been in the Pentagon. So I'll probably get lost. I was a lieutenant. It's probably the first thing that will happen.
No, yeah, I'm glad to hear you talk like that, though, because it is so awesome. I was actually listening to a podcast on the way to the studio today. I wish I could plug them. I can't think of it, but it was World War II in the Pacific history, and it was about some guy, Medal of Honor recipient, David Rule, who spent the night on Iwo Jima, spent one night in a foxhole with a dead Japanese soldier who he had killed with a K-bar getting into the foxhole, and then he jumps on a grenade, saves his buddy's life, gives his life on Iwo Jima, and you just think about that kind of heroism, that kind of people, and now it's your job. You, Pete, the boys, it's your job to make sure that military legacy is maintained, one that has been attacked a lot over the last 4 years. It's an awesome responsibility. It is.
It is, and it's an honor to do it, especially as a ground pounder, right? I was in the infantry, you were in the infantry, and I witnessed my soldiers on the battlefield do extraordinary things. I mean, believe me when I tell you, they are on the forefront of my mind as I take this role. But also everybody that's in the uniform now, and you look over the last 4 years of how still the greatest military on the face of the planet, but I think we can all acknowledge that we've gotten way off track with this crazy social experimentation, this insane focus on DEI. And I know that if you're in an infantry platoon, you only have so much time to train before you go to the battlefield, before you go to combat. If you're even spending one singular second learning about someone's pronouns or some crazy rainbow flag, you are not focused on what you need to do to keep the man to your left and to your right alive. And this is serious, serious stuff. When lives are on the line, you can't afford any distraction. And so, not only is it an honor to represent these American warfighters, but it's also a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to really get our military back on the right track. And that is a focus on readiness. That is a relentless focus on the mission. evolving the force to where we need to be to combat conventional threats and ultimately lethality. That's what it's all about. We got 4 years to do it. We got to move fast.
Yeah, you do. Sean, what are you, and I understand you're going to be limited in what you're probably allowed to tell me right now, and that's obviously totally fine, but what are you encountering as far as resistance from within the military-industrial complex so far? We see all these stories about, U.S. aides in the news right now, Treasury Department, DOJ. I did see Linda Fagan with the Coast Guard, had to get the heave-ho. Are you getting any resistance from inside?
No, not yet. In fact, I haven't even I haven't even been to the Pentagon yet. So I'm just doing all my onboarding paperwork right now and getting ready to transition down there. But, my approach, Jesse, and it might be, look, the last guy that did this job was John Kirby before the Biden White House pulled him over to help the press secretary because she was just terrible over there. But my approach here, Jesse, is one of radical transparency in this job, because the American people have lost an enormous amount of trust in our institutions across the board, but especially in once honorable institutions like the Department of Defense, the American military. And so I am going to tell the truth to people when I have information. The American people will hear it. The American media will have opportunities to ask questions about it. Now, can't be divulging troop movements and classified information. But the point is, do you remember in Afghanistan during the surrender when, journalists in the Pentagon reported that, we killed a suicide bomber, going to attack at Abbey Gate. Actually, it was an Afghan family with children. I'm going to make sure that never happens, because the American people have a right to know what's going on in the world. And so I'm just approaching this, with big eyes, big ears, trying to be humble and self-effacing, and just a pledge to be radically transparent and honest with the American people. That's all, that's all I can offer. And that's exactly what I'm going to do.
I have no doubt. You'll get it done. All right, Sean, finally, I'm assuming after you get your nice little cushy office in the Pentagon, I'm assuming you get to fly around to our various military installations around the globe. After all, you're Mr. Big Shot Pentagon guy. And so, look, if there's an extra seat on any of those planes or anything like that, you have my number. I'm just saying, don't lose my number now that you're a big shot. Don't lose my number. I want to come along.
Wait a second. Are you just mad because an Army guy got this spot instead of a Marine like yourself?
Yes.
Is that what this is about? Because this feels like that. So listen.
Yes.
So I'll tell you what, here's my pledge to you. If I'm traveling around and you want to come broadcast and you're able to do that, come broadcast your radio show from the Pentagon. The media gets an entire row there. We'll make sure we have our servicemen and women there lined up like it's college football Sunday. Come and do it. Come and do one of your shows from the Pentagon if you get an opportunity. I will make it happen. I promise you, I will make it happen. I'm sure the Marines will love you, right? As they depart from coloring in their coloring books,
I will see you soon, my brother. Congrats. I love seeing your star rise. I'm not surprised that I'll be good, my man. I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.